What if I told you that the brand new Dodge Charger 6-pack with a Hurricane engine tips the scales at over 4,800 pounds? That's hundreds of pounds heavier than some of the last generation Challengers and Chargers that we know and love that had a HEMI V8 engine. Think about that. Dodge muscle cars used to come around 3,800 pounds, around 4,600 pounds. But now we're talking about even more weight in a so-called performance car that people was complaining about how big it was, how bulky it was, and how much it weighed. So now Dodge wants us to believe that this Hurricane 6-pack car that has a tiny 3-liter engine is the future. But when they bring the HEMI V8 back to this platform, could we be seeing a new future of 5,000 plus pound cars that could have all-wheel drive? And would it even be competitive? I mean, who knows? But let's talk about it in this video right now. Okay, well, over 51,000 friends and 56% of you guys who watch these videos have hit the subscribe button. Let's get right into this new future of Dodge performance cars, because like I said in the intro, the new Dodge Charger Scat Pack with the 3-liter inline-6 Hurricane engine is going to weigh over 4,800 pounds, and like I'm pretty sure that's without it being optioned up with like a glass sunroof and other things that could come in that car. But that is crazy to think that's how big and how heavy this car is going to be, when that was one of the main criticisms people had of the previous generation car. They was big, they was heavy, they was bulky and stuff. And now Dodge was like, hey, hold my beer. We're gonna make the car even bigger and more heavier and stuff to, you know, to kind of like double down on this. And so when we went to Roadkill Nights, me, TK's Garage, OC Motivator stuff, we had a nice little run in with my new friend, Racer X. And he pretty much dropped the bombshell on us back then a month ago that these new cars are going to weigh over 4,800 pounds. And I guess that was something that they learned during like some kind of like embargo meeting or whatever that no one really privy to. But now I finally see that Car Scoops has finally like published information about this, and I want to react to that in this video. So here goes the article in Car Scoops right here. Dodge finally gives buyer the gas charger that he wanted from $50,000. Now, if you scroll down through this article, I'm going down to the most interesting part. Let's see. Dodge has revealed that the combustion versions of his Charger Coupe, the 50,000 RT and the $55,000 Scat Pack, both get the Hurricane twin turbo inline-6 engine. Now, I know from going for the Roadkill Nights and actually experiencing these engines in person and actually being inside of the car when they start doing their acceleration and stuff, this car, like, I'll just say, if you're a fan of this Hurricane engine, it seems though, because we was in the Scat Pack version, the 550 horsepower version, it seems as though it's really just as fast as a regular plain Jane 392 Scat Pack Charger that you're probably already used to and stuff. The all-wheel drive system was mostly disabled when we was actually in these cars because we was going through a experience ride. An experience ride, they basically had to go do a nice little acceleration, and then they go and start doing all these turns and twists and all that stuff. So we felt basically how this car would feel with the all-wheel drive system turned off. Now, I was trying to see how good this car would have felt with all-wheel drive turned on in a straight line acceleration pull, because they had one of these Scat Packs with the 550 horsepower Hurricane engine in there during one of their little events where you go do straight line pulls with it, because they had the 6-pack car, they had the EV, they had the Durango Hellcat, and they also had like a Charger Hellcat, like a previous generation, and they had all of them where you can actually do that. But by the time I got up to the area where you could do that, where you can just fill these cars, the area had closed down and you couldn't do that anymore. So I kind of missed out on the opportunity to fill this car on the all-wheel drive acceleration and stuff. But it, like I said, it felt pretty similar being in that car to what I felt in other Scat Packs being in there, especially during thrill rides that I've been at in other Dodge events where I've gotten to a Scat Pack. One very interesting thing I saw, if we scroll all the way down here, is looking at the stats of this car. You can go look down here and see right here, curb weight for a Dodge Charger's Scat Pack 6-pack, which I don't know exactly how they're going to go through the dealership and name all these cars, because it's going to get very confusing and stuff. You see right here is 4,816 pounds, with a 3-liter twin turbo straight 6. And if you look at the stats for it, it's 0 to 60 at 3.9 seconds. That is pretty close to the actual old version of the 302 Scat Pack with only rear-wheel drive. And I think that's just because the car weighs so heavy that it can't get off the line fast enough, even with the all-wheel drive system. And having to fill the actual Charger Daytona with its all-wheel drive system, when you go accelerate in that car, you can feel the weight transfer to the rear and those front wheels start to spin. So I think in this car right here, you might have this same effect where the nose lifts up and you might get front wheel drive burnouts and stuff. So we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. But if you look right here, like I said, 3.9, 0 to 60, that's quoted by Dodge. And if you go look at other outlets like Hot Rod Magazine, you can see right here, they had a tested time of a Scat Pack. See right here, 2023 Dodge Challenger Shakedown RT Scat Pack wide body. That's a mouthful. You see right here, 0 to 60 times in 4 seconds with a quarter mile time of 12.5 seconds. So that's what Hot Rod Garage did in their actual testing of a Scat Pack with a HEMI V8 in there. And then if you go look at this Car and Driver, you got basically about the same thing where they said that they've tested a 480 horsepower Charger RT Scat Pack posted an impressive 3.8 seconds 0 to 60 that they've tested as well. So anywhere between 3.8 and 4.0 is where you can get the actual launching of an actual 485 horsepower 392 Charger Scat Pack. And then we go over to the article back where it was at. You see right there, the 0 to 60 in both cars is pretty much about the same. I think it's just really just the all-wheel drive system that's helping out the car and kind of being respectable. They had pretty much the same exact acceleration and stuff. But then in the quarter mile time, the previous car, they said it can do a 12.5 in a quarter mile. And in this car right here, the 6-pack can do a 12.2 in a quarter mile. And so that's what I'm going, like, these cars are not really that much difference in terms of performance and stuff. It's just, I think because of the all-wheel drive system that is actually as close, and this car can like maybe slightly beat the old car. So I'm thinking really the weight, because that weight right there, it is way too much weight. And it's just, I've said this in other videos that Dodge is allergic to making lightweight vehicles. And that's what I'm going, like, I don't know whether or not this Charger right here is going to be a great candidate to making a new Demon out of. Because you got to imagine that when you look at these cars, a Hurricane was, from what I was told, is about what, a few hundred pounds lighter. We would say a Hurricane is about 200 to 300 pounds lighter than a HEMI equipped car. So then you add about 200 to 300 pounds of this, then you can see that we're going to see all-wheel drive versions of this Charger over 5,000 pounds. And so that is a lot of weight to move on a drag spec car. And that could be a recipe of breaking things to try to move a car that massive, that fast, and try to beat the D170's time. And I just don't know whether or not Dodge is going to be able to pull this off. And maybe they had to go and introduce a new car. Because like I said, that's a lot of weight to move. And I don't know if they can get under 8-9 seconds in a quarter mile time in a car that weighs this heavy with around 1,000-1,300 horsepower, depending on what kind of engine they put in this new Charger. So that's just basically my concern right there. And going through it, and like I said, you can go look and see the Daytona Scat Pack can shave 0.6 seconds from the Ice Hurricane's best time, but it costs $20,000 more basically than the 55 grand 6-pack. And its digital exhaust sounds aren't anywhere near as authentic or appealing as the real ones the petrol Chargers make. Yet the future looks bleak for Daytona sales, and I don't think anything anyone says is really going to change that, because I'm going to kind of give you guys my feedback on the actual Daytona Charger in the near future and stuff. I kind of give you guys, I kind of like the car and it's decent, but it's not really a type of EV that I would expect for Dodge to make, because it doesn't really have like that next step in performance that I'm used to out of like very, very fast Dodge cars. Here we go right here. Lighter but not light. Although the 177 mile per hour Scat Pack is a massive 951 pounds daintier than the EV, so I guess 951 pounds lighter than electric vehicle and stuff, it is still 4,816 pounds, and RT is unlikely to be much lighter, but maybe 50 to 100 pounds lighter and stuff. We'll just have to see. But a standard all-wheel drive and launch control modes on both cars helps them hook up for the line when you need maximum stoplight thrust. And when you don't and you ready to showboat, you can toggle the same all-wheel drive system to send the power to rear wheels only, just like you can with the BMW M3 X-Drive or the M5. Scat Packs also get a line lock feature for instant smoky burnouts, but the ability to assume a rear-wheel drive configuration isn't only about delivering more fun. The system can automatically disconnect the front axle at freeway speeds to reduce the parasitic driveline loss and boost fuel economy. And that's one of the problems with the Scat Pack Daytona, that I believe you can't really do that. That's why the actual highway speeds kind of suffer and stuff. But like I said here, 4,800 pounds is a lot of weight, but the Charger, the new Charger, it weighs a heck of a lot more because it is a way bigger car. I've been criticizing that this car has a wheelbase of 121-inch wheelbase, and the Grand Cherokee L, the 3-row extended version, has a 121.7-inch wheelbase. So you literally got this almost exact same wheelbase as a 3-row SUV. Hence, that's why this vehicle weighs so much more than it should. And I just wanted to point it out in this video right here that it is crazy how much this car freaking weighs. And it's gonna be real interesting to see when these cars start getting in people's hands, what people really think about them, rather than just influencers and stuff, how the forums and Facebook groups gonna react once people start buying the 6-packs and maybe the HEMI cars in the future and stuff. I mean, we know the HEMI is coming, and I don't think the 6-pack cars, in my personal opinion, I don't think they're gonna sell that well, because at the end of the day, they sound very horrible. Because people always criticize how like the Ford Raptor, the V6 version, sounded horrible, and then people got more excited once the Raptor R came out. And so maybe the same thing might happen with the actual 6-pack cars, that people may not be too excited about them. People may not really buy them that much because everyone knows the HEMI is coming back. We all know it. Dodge knows it. Everyone and mama knows it. The HEMIs are coming back. But it just, my thing is, when they do come back, will they even really be that much better than the previous cars? Because this new car weighs so much more than old cars. It just crazy. Like the 6-pack cars and the EV version only about 957 pounds lighter. That is crazy. That means just the overall chassis of the car just weighs a lot more, just because of I don't know exactly the reason why, but it's just crazy to think that's how much this car weighs. And that's why I was wishing that, you know, when they actually came up with a 2-door version of the car, that they would shrink it down, they would drop some weight out of it. I mean, I'm pretty sure they can drop down a few hundred extra pounds if they just basically just take that wheelbase and shrink it down to maybe like 113 around there, right? I think that's the minimum wheelbase that platform can support. It's a large platform, and I gotta figure if they can take out several inches out of that car and just have it to where it's a smaller car with the smaller front doors in there, because those massive doors on the 2-door version are just way too big. You got to lean out the car to actually grab the door to bring it back in, because that's how big the car is. So I'm just hoping that, you know, what Dodge would do is that they'll introduce a new smaller car, and then that new smaller car will be what they make the drag strip versions out of, right? I mean, this new Charger, it feels more like, to me, having experienced the EV version and the Hurricane versions of this, it feels more like a GT car and not a muscle car. I mean, it feels more like Plymouth Fury than it does CUDA. I mean, but that's just how I feel. And I'm pretty sure that after experiencing this car, that Dodge is not really gonna be able to take this car and turn it into a drag strip monster without it having like a ton of freaking horsepower on it and stuff. And hopefully, if that is the case, which is why I said I think the Hellcat era should have stayed back where it belongs, and basically make the Redeye the new Hellcat. This car gonna need extra power in order to make it more better and more faster than the older cars. But that is what I think, and hopefully we'll see how that goes when people start getting these cars and touring around with these Hurricanes and see how fast they can actually make these cars. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Do you guys think that this car weighs way too much, 4,800 pounds without options on there? And do you guys think that a HEMI version is going to weigh over 5,000 pounds? And do you guys think that the all-wheel drive system in the car is going to make it more competitive? Is it going to beat the old cars? Is it going to be about the same performance as the old cars? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. And if you want to check out a video that I made talking about some interesting things that could come, especially like a new smaller car, you can check out this video right here. And until the next time, I'm out.